When closing a big deal is crucial, you need to instantly connect with the right people, wherever they are. Now, with Polycom Real Presence Mobile, you can meet and collaborate face-to-face with anyone from anywhere using your Apple, Motorola, or Samsung tablet. You can extend Polycom video collaboration across the firewall to your mobile users for better teamwork and more productive meetings. It's here, and with bulletproof security. Polycom real-time video collaboration anywhere on room systems, desktops, laptops, and now on tablets. Polycom is going mobile with the first enterprise HD video collaboration software solution for tablets. With unprecedented quality, broad interoperability, and superior reliability, all delivered with Polycom's Real Presence platform. Scale instantly with multi-point capabilities. Employees are more accessible, more team-oriented, and more engaged to get business done quickly, to give you the answers you need when you need them from wherever you are.
Did you close the deal? Sure did.
Polycom Real Presence Mobile. High-quality face-to-face collaboration anywhere, anytime.
There we go. Polycom believes there are 7 pillars of unified communications: audio, mobility, desktop, room-based video conferencing, immersive telepresence, video content management, and innovation. Today we'll be expanding on some of these pillars. Recently, you probably noticed that Yahoo had released a statement from the CEO advising that employees had to be working in an office by June. All remote employees had to be at work in an office by June. This created quite the buzz and many ongoing debates within the industry. One statement that stood out to me was the value of human reaction is a greater collective wisdom as a result of improved communication and collaboration. We can never replace the value of face-to-face communications. However, that being said, we have tools today that make it possible for organizations to achieve maximum productivity. Laura, did you want to start with your part?
Absolutely. Thanks, Christine. So what I'd like to do now is talk about some trends and innovation, and I'm going to do that in the context of Polycom's announcements that we made in Q4 of last year. So in Q4 of last year, we launched the largest suite of products and solutions in our 20+ year history. And inside of that suite of Polycom solutions and products, we really addressed some key video collaboration industry drivers. So what we were after is creating the best possible user experience. Video collaboration has been around for years, 20+ years just for Polycom, and even longer than that. And really the next step, the next trend is to make the user experience so seamless and intuitive that it just becomes part of your everyday workflow. We also innovated in terms of our multi-vendor integration. Integrating with common UC applications and tools is key to increasing usability of video collaboration in your organization. And then, of course, having the lowest total cost of ownership is also really key and important, especially in this economic uncertain times. We want to make sure that we have the lowest total cost of ownership for all of our customers. When you look at the announcements that we made on October 8th, we made 5 announcements. One press release was really an overarching press release that just talked about how we were announcing industry transforming breakthrough solutions that accelerate mass adoption of video collaboration and fueled new growth opportunities. And then we had 4 specific press releases that covered 4 specific main areas. One is our next generation endpoints, and Christine's going to talk about that in just a bit. And then we announced some innovative solutions that really were centered around our Real Presence platform. So we announced this new technology called Open Standards SVC, and I'll talk more about that in a second. We announced some solutions for the mid-market to really address the unique needs and the way the mid-market works and solutions that address that. And then we have a completely revolutionary product that we're bringing to market called the Polycom Real Presence Cloud Access Suite. So if we look at our whole video collaboration lineup, you'll see that inside of the environments that people work in are all of the devices that you use. And again, Christine's going to talk more about each of the new exciting devices that we announced. Then there is the Polycom Real Presence Cloud Access Suite that I'm going to talk about. All the applications that are driven when you're in a video collaboration meeting. And then you have the Real Presence platform that drives all of the content sharing, the video, the audio, the integration, the ease of use. Inside of the Real Presence platform, we made, again, some key announcements. So if you look at the 5 components of the Real Presence platform, we have our Universal Video Collaboration Suite. We have our resource management. We have virtualization management. And then we have our access, firewall traversal and access. And then we have our video content management. On October 8th, we made announcements in the first 4 components of the Real Presence platform. We announced a new collaboration server called the Collaboration Server 800S Virtual Edition. And we announced software releases on the current bridges that you might own today, the Polycom RMX bridges, so that our whole collaboration server family now supports SVC. So who cares about SVC? Why does anyone care? It's just a technology. I could be saying H.323, H.264, H. whatever, right? The real benefit of SVC is that when you're calling in SVC mode and you're joining a call, a multi-point video call, you're only taking up 1/3 of the resource that you would be taking up if you were calling in traditional AVC, which is advanced video coding. So what that means to an organization is if they've invested in Polycom infrastructure, they can have 3 times the number of people collaborating, working together, being productive in multi-point calls than they could have had the day before, right? So if they move to this SVC technology, and we'll talk, and again, Christine will talk about some of the endpoints that support SVC, but when you move to SVC technology across your organization, you can have 3 times the number of people collaborating at the same cost. And that is in HD. So it's not collaboration in a lower resolution, but it's high definition collaboration. So again, all of that is now supported on the RMX series that's been launched and shipping. And then we have the new Collaboration Server Collaboration Server 800S Virtual Edition that also supports that, and that was really designed for the mid-market segment. Then we made additional announcements to Resource Manager and Virtualization Manager, and mainly what we did there is added all of the support for scheduling, for dial out, for reporting, for easy virtual meeting room access inside of the management solution. So those management solutions that support reporting, scheduling, directory services, dialing out, Meet Me conferences, all of those now support SVC as well as ABC. And the most important thing is they support a mixed environment. So nobody's just going to switch to a new technology overnight, and we know that. So one of the key tenets of Polycom has been interoperability and standards-based connections. So when you add a new technology to your network, you can be assured with Polycom that you can continue to use your current investments as you move forward and embrace the new technology. And then we added a new Real Presence Access Director, which is a firewall traversal solution. The Access Director was key because you can dial into a company, whether you're on the new SVC clients or whether you're on the traditional AVC clients. All right, so when you look at extending our video collaboration to the mid-market, we again introduced the new Real Presence Collaboration Server 800S Virtual Edition. The key to this solution is that since it is software just on standards-based hardware, it's more expandable, and you're able to include mixed video calls, AVC and SVC together, while still supporting those standards that are important. RTV, so those of you who have Microsoft throughout your organization, you're using Link or you're using Microsoft Office, the protocol that Microsoft uses for collaboration is RTV, and we support RTV in our multi-point conferences, which means if you're on a Microsoft Link client and you're wanting to collaborate from that way, from your desktop, you can call into a Polycom multi-point meeting room and you dial directly in. You don't have to go through any gateways or any other servers or solutions. You dial directly into the virtual meeting room. Same thing if you have Cisco solutions. So we support the TIP protocol, which is the protocol that Cisco uses. So all of that is supported on all of our collaboration servers, including this new mid-market solution. And then to match up with the mid-market solution, we have, again, some mid-market endpoints. It's hard to talk about the whole solution without talking about the endpoints. But again, Christine's going to go into more detail on the new, excuse me, Real Presence Desktop, the new Group Series, and the new Real Presence Mobile. And all of those support the SVC protocol. So you can enjoy both AVC and SVC in any of those solutions. So now I wanted to jump into the next really exciting announcement that we made, which is the Real Presence Cloud Access Suite. So what we found is that as people go to communicate business to business, video collaboration is key to maintaining that mind share and getting really clear communication. So if you're trying to collaborate or communicate with a partner or a vendor, or perhaps you've hired a third party company to do your marketing or your finances, it's one thing to be able to collaborate over email, right? Everyone does that, or over instant message. But in order to really ensure that you are communicating and collaborating the way you want to, visual communication adds a whole other dimension to that communication. The problem is that a lot of organizations you may be communicating with don't have video collaboration installed. But most organizations have some kind of communication that they have access to, whether that's Skype or Google or Facebook. They have some kind of way, social media or some free video communications they have access to. So what Polycom has done is said, if you have the Polycom Real Presence platform, you can extend your corporate communications and include web-based and social-based clients inside of your secure video communication. So let me just say, as a side note, one of the reasons that using a free video collaboration application isn't optimal for a lot of organizations is that security is an issue. Security is an issue. It's a like to like. You can only call another like system, so there's no interoperability. So using something like Skype is certainly an option for some organizations, but if they want that higher quality and those secure communications, then that's not going to work. However, Polycom's new Cloud Access Suite can include Skype users in their communications. So let me tell you how it works. So you have the whole Cloud Access Suite the whole Real Presence platform installed in your organization. You then add a new Cloud Access Suite server. We refer to this as the flexible resource broker. That's just kind of a term for it. So we're brokering this communication that we're about to start. So if we move to the next slide, let's start like we're just about to start a meeting. So let's say it's me. I'm about to start a meeting and I want to bring, not all of you, but let's say 6 of you into a communication with me. And you guys have a variety of communication applications at your disposal. So what I do is I bring up my Cloud Access directory and I can import all my Google Talk, Facebook, Skype users into this directory so that I have a full view of all of the people I can communicate with. So then I click to launch. I say start a call. I bring everybody in that I want and I say start a call. What happens on your end, if you're receiving the call, is that you get an instant message from your device of choice, Google Talk, Facebook, Skype, and it says, join my Polycom Real Presence Cloud Access Conference. And you click to join, and you can be on Safari or Internet Explorer or Firefox or Google Chrome, whatever. You click to join, and it launches a web browser conference, which puts you into a secure video collaboration meeting with me. So even though I'm joining you using your Skype and Facebook and Google Talk, you're actually coming into the call using the secure Polycom Real Presence platform via your web browser. And so this is what it looks like. So we're all in a call together. I'm leading the call, so I can add participants, join participants. I can see everybody, and you guys can see everybody. And since we're part of the Polycom Real Presence platform, we see everybody in great definition. And if we move to the next slide, you can see that we can share content because we're not being concerned with having to go from different application to different application. We're all inside of a Polycom Real Presence platform room. We're secure. We can share content. We can see and hear each other easily. The only thing you really need on your end is a camera connected to your computer. Then when I want to disconnect the call, I end the call and the call is securely terminated. And this is important because once that call is securely terminated by me, if you click on that link again to join the call, it's not going to work. So the next time I want you to join a call, I send you another communication and it opens up a different secure link. So once that call is started and terminated, that call is over. So from my perspective, I'm clear that the whole thing is secure from beginning to end. So again, if we move to the next slide, how this is being delivered is those enterprises that have invested in the Polycom Real Presence platform would add the Cloud Access Suite to their Real Presence platform deployment, and then they can securely communicate, like I just talked about, with all of their B2B or B2X, really, B2X, right? B2C, B2B, B2 whatever they want through the Cloud Access Suite. If you don't have the Real Presence platform and you'd rather use a service from a service provider, later on in 2013, service providers have already started investing in Cloud Access Suite and bringing up services where a service provider can offer you for a monthly or a per call basis this kind of Cloud Access Suite experience. So for now, the first launch, the first shipment, which is going to be in less than 30 days, is the Cloud Access Suite for the enterprise, which again is on top of the Polycom Real Presence platform. Okay, I hope that was super clear. I know it's exciting and the whole industry was really excited about that. So now we're going to back up just a little bit and talk about our Real Presence environments and some of the announcements that we had on October 8th that addressed our endpoints and our environments or our devices. Back over to you, Christine.
Okay, thank you, Laura. So we wanted to talk about the Real Presence systems and the endpoints, and these are quite a breakthrough in the endpoint systems, specifically because they provide ease of use. They include a touch interface options and unique smart pairing technology, making it simple to use your iPad, tablet to start and manage your video calls. They have high performance technology that reduces network bandwidth costs and delivers true to life collaboration experiences, especially when you're on a multi-point call. They're customizable and expandable options that will help reap the most of your systems for years to come. So let's review some of these systems as we move forward here. And we're going to go here. Okay. So here you see the Real Presence Group series models. We have 3 systems that were introduced, the Real Presence 300, 500, and the Group 700 series. So if we start with the 300, it is designed for small conference rooms, huddle rooms, and offices. You can see that the codec is actually quite small than what you're typically used to. It has one camera input, a wireless PPCIP content capture, one monitor. You can get a second input for the monitor via a software license key. There's no built-in multi-point for this system, so very important to note on that. And it, of course, has a small and sleek design, as I mentioned. Moving to the Real Presence 500 series, again, it's a little bit larger, so you would put this in where you would typically have a 7000 series. It's ideal for larger conference rooms. One camera input again. It has the wireless PPCIP plus HDMI and VGA content inputs. It does come with 2 monitor inputs. It also has a 6-way standard video, 4-way HD multi-point software option, and again, it does have the small and sleek design. So a little bit different there. The most important thing here to note is that multi-point software option. Okay, you can do 6-way standard def, whereas on the HDX series, it only has the 4-way multi-point option. So these two are readily available now. The Real Present Group 700, I believe, Laura, is coming out at the end of the month.
That's right.
Okay, good. So the Real Present Group 700 series is coming out at the end of the month. And this is again where you'd probably look at this, placing it in an 8000, 9000, HDX 9000 series environment, so a larger conference room where there's more demand for that codec. It has 2 camera inputs. Again, it has the wireless PPCIP plus 5 content inputs, so very, very good for an educational facility. 3 video outputs. And here, if you'll take note, 8-way standard def multi-point conferencing and 4-way HD multi-point conferencing option. That, I think, is a leading technology right there. We don't see that anywhere, and that for me is quite exciting. And of course, it has substantially greater processing power for future features. We don't know what those future features are, but I'm sure they're going to be quite exciting if it has anything to do with Polycom. All right. So one of the things important to note on these systems is the H.264 high profile. Whereas on the HDX systems, we saw it reduced up to 50% bandwidth savings. Now that's been extended to when bandwidth savings for 1080p 60 for people in plus content. Very important, because we know that can really take down your network when you're trying to bring in content. So with that 50% reduction, it just makes it more of a clear and concise picture when you're trying to do video conferencing. And it also, that extends to the multi-point conferencing, hence the reason why we're able to bring in more resources for the multi-point call. It also has new UI, lower IT costs. So that just means that, when you're, whereas before we'd have to always depend on our IT resources, because the UI is so easy to use and understand, software is software, and, the participants, the hosts of that video conference are able to take ownership of that video call and just use it right away and adapt to it very, very quickly. The other thing with the Real Presence systems, and important to note, you've invested in this infrastructure. You want to keep your point, your hardware that you've already invested in. And the important thing that with the Real Presence Group systems is you have the ability to leverage those investments with the Real Presence Group. So hence, with your Eagle Eye Director, your touch control, your HDX microarray, ceiling or tabletop, and your HDX camera. So when we're looking at, when we're looking at leveraging those equipments, and one of the important things that Polycom did bring out, which was quite breakthrough and quite taken very, very well within the industry, was the Polycom Eagle Eye Director. I can tell you with my clients, it is a loved feature. And let's just review some of this right now. Sorry, I kind of backed up on the slides. So the Polycom Eagle Eye Director is an automatic camera control. It's a dual camera system that mimics a production studio setup. It crossfades, making transitions smooth and seamless, moving from a wide shot to a room to an active speaker. It's voice locating, camera tracking, very important there to note. And it works with all HDX room telepresence systems and the group systems, Laura, as well?
That's right. That's right. Group series as well.
Excellent. So here we have a picture.
One of the things I want to just note is that one of the cameras can be taken off and put somewhere else in the room. So if you really do want to mimic a broadcast studio or you're in an educational setting, you can separate the cameras so that one of the cameras goes to the side or the back of the room. So let's say one camera is focused on the teacher and that's the main shot. And as the students start talking, it'll seamlessly and really nicely crossfade to the students and zoom in on the students talking. And then when they're done, it'll go back to the teacher. And no one will have to press any buttons. So there's no pressing buttons to switch from camera to camera. And there's no like zooming around the room as the camera's trying to find the next speaker, which makes everybody seasick, right? So it's a very versatile, innovative solution. And in the next release, Christine will be able to have 2 Eagle Eye directors in the same room. So for even a bigger educational type meeting room.
Beautiful. I know a lot of my clients have placed it just in their meeting rooms because they like the idea of having a picture of the room, but yet when people are speaking in different parts of the room, it automatically captures that person speaking and seamlessly, as you said, Laura, just focuses back into the room until the next person speaks. And it's very natural and it's very much like you're a part of that meeting, and that's what collaboration is. You need to be a part of that meeting and you need to make it seamless. So on the real presence systems, they are best in class systems, and I'm quite excited to see this release because it really brings video conferencing to the next standard, and it really opens up the marketplace, just even to open standards, to more bandwidth connectivity. The ability to use the system seamlessly is quite exciting for me in the video conferencing marketplace. One of the things that I want to point out is the 1080p 60 people. As I mentioned before, it's a new level of realism, making video more enjoyable and use. The idea of having detailed full motion video clips being played while you're on a video conference, CAD drawings, medical images, it just makes everything so real in the video conference, especially for teams that are dispersed. The applications are endless at this point.
Yeah, and let me just add here, Christine, that not everybody needs 1080p in every call. In fact, most calls are just fine at a lower bandwidth, but when you do need it, the Polycom Group Series has it. And you can choose whether you want to send 1080p 60 people, so perhaps you're, again, a teacher or a surgeon, or you're teaching some class, and the image that you're showing of the main camera is really important, and you want to send that in the most clear, defined way you can. And for others, the content, super important, right? You want to send a CAD drawing, you want to send like Christine was saying, a high-res video, and so you can choose what is going to get the 1080p 60. Is it going to be the content or the people? And you can choose that in every call. You can choose that every time, and you're not, it's a very flexible system. So just wanted to add that too.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, one of the next innovations that have come out from Polycom is the smart pairing. And this allows you to pair your iPad device to an HDX or a real presence system by bringing mobile and room environments together. So it's for both the HDX and group series. So basically, if I'm on the road and I have my iPad, Laura, maybe you can expand on this one a little bit more because I'm not too familiar with this one.
Sure. So let's say that you have Real Presence Mobile on your iPad, and you are using that for all your Real Presence communications, which is great. But when you're in a conference room, you're not using your Real Presence Mobile on your iPad, but what you would love is the opportunity to control your conference room from your iPad. So what we've done is given you the ability, when you walk into a conference room and you have Real Presence Mobile on your conference room, it detects another Polycom group system in the room, whether it's HDX or Group Series, and lights up a little note on your iPad and says, do you want to use this iPad as the control mechanism for your system? And you say yes, and it turns your iPad into a control where you can start the call, end the call, add participants, push content, etc., right from your iPad device. And in the future, we'll add other devices to this, but right now it's just the iPad. And then when you're done with the call, you can use Real Presence Mobile in any other way. So again, automatically detects whether you want to use your Real Presence Mobile as the control mechanism. And really the only thing you need to do is be on the same IP network as your Polycom system. That's really the only gotcha in that.
Beautiful. Okay, so the user interface, as we mentioned in the Real Presence systems, there's a couple of different things than the HDX. And one is the camera presets. So whereas the HDX, you would program it for the camera presets, on the Real Presence series, you're able to have a snapshot image to identify the 1 through 10 camera presets. So I like that idea, because on the old way, how were you to know what camera preset was what camera preset? So this gives us the ability to actually see where we're actually going to be pointing the camera. So that's quite a nice feature that was added. The other is the layout and PIP control. So again, another graphical layout selection for PIP, dual monitor emulation, and the RMX multi-point layout. So a little bit more of a user interface that makes it easier for the users to view what exactly is going on in their video conference. So how do we extend the value of the HDX? Well, that would be with a version 3.1. Now, has that been released, Laura?
It has been released.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it has been released, and it is key for people who have invested in HDX and really love their HDX and aren't looking to move to another platform. The most exciting thing, Christine, to me, was this whole embedded whiteboarding. So we have the UC board, which has been fun and really popular, but now all you have to do is, if you have like I have this USB mouse here that I use, right? And so you have the little USB thing that you plug into your computer. Well, if you plug that thing into the back of your HDX, your mouse can be used to draw on a whiteboard that you start with your HDX without having UC board even connected. So you now can start whiteboarding sessions on your HDX without having the UC board. And then if you invest in a touch control display, and I know there's a lot of them out there and they're kind of expensive, but they're getting more reasonable. And again, if you're in education, you probably have them, or it's a great investment. Just you touch the touch control display and it turns it into a whiteboard, and you can just use your finger to draw right on the touch control display and do whiteboarding sessions. So our goal is to make it as easy as possible and as seamless as possible in the conference room, and to do new and unique things that bring collaboration to the conference room where it might have been a little tricky before.
Well, I think that certainly leverages the investment for the HDX. Those two features alone, I think, really adds value to their existing investments.
Absolutely. And the touch control, for people that have invested in touch control, a couple of features. You can now share Mac content. So, and again, in the education industry, a lot of Macs. So you can now share content from your Mac and right to a HDX call. And now you can also web into your touch control and manage it. So for any IT people on the call today, you can now just log into your touch control and update it, manage it, change it, do whatever you want from the web. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. So that kind of gives us an overview of the group systems that were released. And I think, what we really need to do is just show a visual on where these systems are actually being placed and how do you position those within your infrastructure. So when you want to do more high-level content, such as the this 1080p 60 content, or you want more of a clearer image in the 1080p 60 people, then you probably want to position your systems with the Real Present Group series, especially if you're going into more video endpoints and such as well, because you have the multi-point capacity. So when we're looking at the Real Present systems, again, the 300 series is going to the small huddle rooms, typically where you would place the HDX 6000, which is very a good placement for that system, except you have to remember where those features will benefit you if you want just a little bit more. In the mainstream conferencing rooms where you would have the HDX 7000 and 8000, then you're probably going to take a look at the Real Presence 500 series. And as I mentioned, those systems are readily available now, and they are shipping now. They've been shipping for a little while now. The Real Presence Group 700 series is where you go into a larger integrated room, typically where you would find the HDX 9000 system. So again, all these systems, it's just a matter of what you really want, and we can help you determine what you're really looking for and how you want to dedicate that VC system to the most benefit to your organization. I thought I was going to say something.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So next on our list is the Polycom Real Presence Desktop 2.0. And this is the next generation HD desktop video collaboration software for Windows and Mac. It's intuitive and fresh user experience. Again, as you know, it goes part of that SVC and AVC technology. There's new firewall traversal enhancements. It's ease of use. It's much easier to use. And of course, an attractive user interface. I think, Laura, when you were presenting the SVC technology, was that the desktop, what the software application, was that what it looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it looked like. And
Okay.
it's we've demonstrated this in a few trade shows now where you're calling from your Real Presence desktop or your Real Presence mobile into a multi-point call using SVC. And the nice thing, everybody, about this technology on Real Presence mobile and desktop is it'll just pull you in an SVC. So if you're capable of SVC on your endpoint, the bridge will pull you in SVC. You don't have to do anything different or do anything weird or unnatural, right? To join in the best possible way. And then the cool thing is once you're joined, you can do stuff with your layout. So you can double click on somebody that you want to take a closer look at. Perhaps you think they have a brand new fancy hairstyle and you want to take a look at it. Just kidding. But if you're in a conference with somebody and you have 10 screens on your computer screen and you want to zoom into somebody, even if they're not the person talking, you can do that. So the user has a lot more control with SVC because of the way the technology works than they have in the past. And the quality is exactly the same as AVC. That's one of the things we did, Christine, is we put out an AVC and an SVC call up side by side. And we said, can you tell the difference? Even though one is using a third of the resources in the network. And there was no difference. People couldn't tell which call was AVC and SVC. It was really great.
That's fantastic. Now, I understand it's a 30-day free trial as well.
Absolutely.
And that's on Polycom's website, correct?
Yep, sure is.
Beautiful. So I recommend to everybody who wants to try that new technology that they just log on to Polycom's website, download the software, try it for 30 days, and do your own comparison. What do you think of it? Okay, so next is the Real Presence Mobile 2.0. So this is the mobile video software with meeting on the go ability. It's industry first for Polycom Smart Pairing, as we've mentioned throughout this presentation. So user can wirelessly control the conference room system from the iPad. Very important. I know so many people that use their iPad and don't want to use their remote control. They just want the ability to just go on the fly and make things happen and make it natural and seamless. So this is a great addition to that Polycom suite. Again, ease of use, high quality, flexibility, like all Polycom products. So, take a look at that and see what you think of that. One of the other things.
One thing I wanted to add here, Christine, again, like I said earlier, it's hard to talk about one of the solutions without talking about the other, but I mentioned earlier Real Presence Access Director, and that's your firewall traversal solution, the new one from Polycom. So if you're using Real Presence Mobile and Real Presence Desktop, you're likely outside of the network. Not always. You could be using them right inside your network, but a lot of the people using it are remote workers. And if you need to call into your network and you need to connect securely, Real Presence Access Director brings those people in without needing VPN. So if you don't have a VPN client on your desktop or on your tablet, and again, for educational people, for people in the education industry is probably a better way to say that, that's very common. So if you need to bring people in that don't have VPN access to your network securely and easily, Real Presence Access Director does that, and it'll pull them in an SVC if they're SVC capable, or it'll pull them in an AVC if they're not SVC capable, and it'll make that seamless determination. So Real Presence Access Director, a key part of a remote worker installation, along with the Real Presence Mobile and Real Presence Desktop.
Great. One of the things, we try to talk about and stress during this presentation is unified communications. And, unified communications isn't just about video conferencing. It's the ability to bring everybody in, no matter what means you have, whether that be presence, whether that be audio, whether that be video. The ability to unify and collaborate on one platform. So what I'd like to mention here is on the Polycom VVX 600 with VVX camera. This would integrate with your current IP-based system, because Polycom is open standard, so very important to note there. So it would go into your IP environment, and now allows you the ability to have a touchscreen interface. You can have the optional video and voice accessories. So if you look in here where it says industry first, you see a little camera that just plugs into the video to the phone, which, I mean, how great is that? Now you're able to be part of a video conference if you need to, and do the collaboration that you require. All Polycom's IP sets are very, very easy to use. It's one of the nice things about those sets is that they're easy to deploy, they're easy to use, and quickly upgradable to video. So this, I think, is an excellent IP set, and I can't wait. Actually, I haven't seen this one yet, but I think it is an industry first, so I'm looking forward to testing that out.
It's great. The cameras are great quality, Christine, and I know that screen looks small, and it is. So you don't want to do an 18-way video call on that little screen, right? But it is surprisingly good quality. Kind of like the first time you watched a movie on your iPhone. You're like, this is not going to work. This is going to be just totally crazy, and and then you're surprisingly good quality. Same kind of experience with the VVX 600 and that camera. You can call into a multi-point call. You can dial point to point. You can call into a Polycom recorder. Anything you can dial into from your room system, you can dial into now from your phone, including a Microsoft Link client. So you can connect with other Microsoft Link clients because it works in a Microsoft Link environment. So really great, versatile phone.
Beautiful. So I think that gives a good overview of the new products and solutions from Polycom. And I think we'd like to spend just a little bit more time, Laura, on what the future trends are, what's coming.
Great. Well, Christine, thinking about just our audience today, I wanted to hone in on some specific future trends that I am seeing more and more as I talk to our customers and go to industry events. So again, budgets are getting squeezed and constrained, and at the same time, consumer expectations for online video access are really skyrocketing into the workplace as different kinds of people are entering our workforce. They have high expectations of having video be a part of their everyday work life. I mean, those of us on the phone who are parents, you can't even exist throughout the day without your child including video in some way, in some form, whether that is a video game or video on their little devices, because let's be honest, even our 4-year-olds have eye touches, right? And they're streaming and they're going to YouTube and you're having to watch their content, and it's just crazy, right? Those are the people that are entering our workforce, and video has been a part of their everyday life forever, and it doesn't feel invasive to them. It doesn't feel invasive to them for someone to call them over video while they're sitting at their desk. Whereas people my age and older, we're like, whoa, I don't know that anybody needs to be calling me over video at my desk. I don't know that that needs to happen. Let's stick to the phone, right? Well, these new people entering the workforce are just the opposite. So we're needing to incorporate this video phenomenon that's happening in the world into the workplace, while also saving on costs. So as we look at the Real Presence platform, or if we go to the next slide, that last box is video content management. Video content management is one box of the Real Presence platform, but for some people it's the most important box of the platform, because it allows you to have synchronous and asynchronous video communications throughout your network seamlessly. So video content management assumes that your most valuable asset is knowledge. And this whole term of big data is a big term. In organizations, you would lose your mind if you tried to think of all the data that was at the fingertips of all of your employees at one given time. Just having one employee leave an organization and all the stuff that's on their computer, and they all organize it their own way, and they do their own thing, and they categorize it in different ways and store it in different ways. And so there's all this data happening in an organization. And from a video perspective, there's all this video data and video assets that are potentially being captured or could be captured and used to share knowledge throughout your organization. And video content management from Polycom makes that a reality. So it speeds knowledge sharing and overcomes the challenges of distance and time. So Polycom, I work for Polycom, obviously, and we're a global organization. I have people that report to me that live in Singapore, and I have people that report to me that live in Beijing and all across the United States. I have a group of people that I work with in Australia and over in Europe. And guess what? Even though we all have video collaboration, nobody likes to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to make that video call, or 4 a.m. So the ability to record a conversation or a meeting or a training and then access it when it makes sense for me or makes sense for them is hugely productive in our meetings. So the whole challenges of distance and time, real-time and non-real-time collaboration. So video content management solutions from Polycom allows you to capture the content easily. Then you can manage the content in a very automatic, seamless way. Again, make it a part of a workflow. Deliver that content out seamlessly and access it universally. So let's see what we mean by that. So capturing the content easily. So employees across the organization need simple tools to be able to record easily. Whether that recording is a training. So I'm doing a training and I want to make sure that everybody has access to this training because I'm in human resources and I'm one person, and boy, our company is growing like gangbusters, and I need to make sure everybody's up to speed on the latest whatever. It could be something like the values of the organization, or it could be something really important like safety training that you want to get across. So those kinds of things. You can also, if let's say you're in an educational institution, lecture capture is huge in universities, right? And I think it's becoming more the norm than the exception to have lectures captured. So I need to be able to capture that content easily. I also want to be able to stream while I'm capturing. So if I am a university and I'm looking for new ways to monetize the investments I've made in my staff and in my buildings and in my student population, I'm looking for ways to monetize that without building more buildings, adding more staff, adding more parking spaces, more dorms. One way to do that is to deliver this content over the web, and you can do that in real time. So a lecture can be happening, it can be streamed out over the web, a student logs on, they pay to log on, so you're adding a new student to your population, you're paying to log on, and you're delivering this content seamlessly throughout the web. You can also, with Polycom Solutions, record from Microsoft Lync or IBM same time. Probably wouldn't record a lecture like that, but you can do more personal recording. So capturing the content, there's several different ways from Polycom you can do that. We make it really easy. Managing the content. So once I have this content captured, how do I manage it? Well, Polycom makes it really easy to automatically file a recording in a certain way. So we have a solution called the Media Manager, which is like YouTube for the enterprise, where I can search and find a recording. I can categorize my recordings in a certain way. So all my trainings are here, my corporate communications are here, my product launches are here, my Professor A, Professor B, Professor C, they all have their own little recording rooms on the Media Manager, so I can easily find the recordings that I need. I can measure everything. I can pull reports. Who's watching it? How long are they watching it? Are they just logging in and watching the first 5 minutes, or are they watching the whole thing? What's the most popular video assets that are being used? So I also can do some and this is something that's new actually, that's going to be coming out soon, is I can search on words. So when does the term hypervisor come up in a video recording throughout all of Media Manager, and it'll pull all the recordings. So I'm trying to learn more about cloud computing and all of the ways that I can have virtual not virtual meeting rooms, but virtual machines, right, in an organization. I'm trying to learn more about that, and I know my organization's really into that, so I'm going to search on that so I can do that. So I can search by words or phrases. Also, let's be honest, when we miss a meeting and we're watching it being recorded, we don't really want to sit through the whole hour meeting. I mean, we may have to in certain meetings if it's our staff meeting or something, but sometimes we just want to hear the parts of the meeting that we know were interesting for us and applicable to us. So again, you can search and find key phrases or words so you can get just that part of the meeting that's important to you. So managing your content, critical. The next, delivering the content. So delivering your content is seamless with Polycom. You can watch it from your video conferencing room. You can watch it from your iDevice or your Android device. You can watch it on the web. You can access it from really any device probably that I can think of. Probably not your TV yet. But who knows, if you have one of these TVs that can access the web, you can watch it on your TV in your living room. Your kids love to watch your HR training. That'll be awesome. You can deliver, so content is delivered seamlessly and really easy. If you're on your iPhone, the user interface looks different than if you're on your computer or you're on your video conference, device. It also detects what you're using, and it delivers it in the speed and in the resolution that's appropriate for that device. So you're not using more bandwidth and you're not doing things that are inappropriate for the device that you're on. And then the last thing is accessing the content universally. So this kind of goes along with delivering the content, being able to access the content when and where you need, whether you're on a 4G or a 3G or a Wi-Fi network. Again, having that look and feel on the device that's appropriate for you, and having this whole library on the go and on demand is really, really nice. So again, capturing your content easily, managing your content automatically, delivering and accessing your content seamlessly and universally. So the next slide is a new announcement we made that some people missed because we made the announcement in December, which, by the way, for all of you doing product announcements and launches, December is not a great time. People are just way more worried about Christmas shopping than they are about what products and solutions are being delivered by their favorite vendors, right? So we launched the solution, which is a hosted edition for Real Presence Media Manager. So Media Manager, as I described it, is very powerful. It may be a little more of an investment than you are looking at doing right off the bat. And I don't just mean the box isn't that expensive, but it's the people to train to run the device and to make sure it's used in your organization the way you want it to be used. So you want to take advantage of the benefits of it, but not quite sure if you're ready to implement it in your network. Well, you can now purchase a hosted, part of Media Manager from your Polycom channel partner. So when you're working with your Polycom channel partner, how it would work is you would buy the content device, the capture devices. So you would buy the little devices you put in your network or in your room for lecture capture. You would invest in those. And then you would purchase a hosted model of Media Manager. So all of your content gets stored and accessed from the cloud instead of stored and accessed from your location. So very, very, a very powerful way to try out the Media Manager. Then if you love it, then invest in it yourself, put it on your network, and everything can be hosted from your own cloud, from a private cloud, or from your own on-premise network. Lots of different monthly subscription plans available. And again, you would talk to your Polycom channel partner about that and access that. So that's it. That's the future trend I wanted to talk about, was video content management.
That sounds really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Well, that concludes our presentation on Polycom's what's new in video conferencing. I know we do have one question, Laura, that arose during the presentation, and one was, do the real presence systems integrate with non-Polycom equipment?
The answer is yes. That's one of the key tenets of Polycom is interoperability and open standards base. So if you have invested, and a lot of companies have done this, whether it's because they've acquired another company that purchased video conferencing from another vendor, or maybe they didn't really have a standard when they started their video collaboration journey and they let all of their departments buy whatever they wanted, and people will buy from different vendors. So what you end up with is a mixed vendor deployment on your network, and you want a solution that takes advantage of all those investments you've made, because those are real dollars you've used to invest in, and works together seamlessly. So Polycom solutions do, whether it's point-to-point or when you're all joining a multi-point room. So the bridges, boy, you can pretty much, Christine, join anything. Microsoft Link, IBM same time. All of our competitive systems can join seamlessly. It doesn't matter if they're old ISDN systems or new SIP systems. You can join seamlessly into an RMX room. The only people that can't are people that are proprietary, like Skype, right? We have cloud access for those kinds of users to bring those people in, but you can't call from like your Skype video device into a Polycom RMX meeting room, because Skype is they use a proprietary protocol. So if they're using anything remotely standards-based, they can call into the RMX, or they can dial point-to-point to the HDX or the group series.
I think we've made great strides in the last 6 months on, reaching out to those people. Whereas back when we'd have to have a dedicated H323 or SIP system to each room or to each device, and now all of a sudden we're able to bring Google Plus Talk and Skype users. So the vision is really opening up to those video conferencing users out there, and the ability to connect with them outside the network is another thing. I mean, that's just substantial to me in a video conferencing world. So I'd like to say now that this concludes our Polycom updates, but I'd also like to mention that Polycom does have a demo room available for everyone to go see the new products. I believe it's by appointment, so you'd have to connect with me, and then we'll surely connect with you with the Polycom folks in Toronto. But you would be able to see an in-depth demonstration of these products, and I really think it's beneficial to you to see how they all work and interact together, because there's nothing better, there's nothing better than hearing about it, but you actually seeing it work is another thing, and I think I highly recommend that. If you have any questions, feel free to email myself, and my contact information is kclement@edcom.ca. And I'd also like to thank so very much, Laura, for you participating in today's conference. It was very enlightening and very much appreciated, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Everybody, hope you have a great day. And again, I second that. The new hosted media manager you can see what that looks and feels like in the Polycom executive briefing centers. So I highly encourage you to visit those centers and check out all the new stuff, including all the new content capture and content management stuff that I talked about as a future trend, as well as all of our new endpoints. It's very exciting.
Well, thank you once again, folks, and again, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next series. Stay tuned for that. Thank you, Laura.
You bet. Bye-bye.